things starting to grow too.
It's a good day, even though it's raining, ain't it? That's how I feel. Oh, yeah. They've been resurrected one more year. Who's this? I got it back.
Hands are so dry. Good evening.
Good evening.
I just washed it. It's like,
I was gonna ask you, did you need some? That's a thing.
thank you.
All right, since we are all here and accounted for, I will go ahead and call our study session to order at 6 p.m. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I think Chief kept one on and turned on everybody's light, because you all want to make sure that everything light is on your microphone. And we want to make sure that our cell phones are turned off and off the counters, or turned on to silent.
I turn that off.
City Clerk Domingo, if you want to take roll call, please.
Councilmember Williams,
Present.
Reed,
Present.
Jackson,
Here.
Lawler,
Here.
Lanu,
Here.
and Mayor Snyder.
Here. So we are here to discuss our water rate study. So I will go ahead and turn this over to our city manager, Snyder.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Snyder. So included in the packet, there were several documents. One was the PER, or Preliminary Engineering Report, that Whiteman and Associates prepared for the city. I believe it was end of last year. That preliminary PER identified potential maintenance projects geared towards our water department. So we're looking at water line replacements, the second water tower that people have mentioned. So all of those projects were included in there. We're here to discuss, a part of that was a water rate analysis. Just to kind of give you a little history, the city's water rates have not been raised since 2014. With that, our budget, our sewer and water funds, they are enterprise funds, meaning the fees that we charge for those services should fund those budgets. You should be collecting enough revenues to provide proper maintenance, just the day-to-day operations, as well as any potential improvements to those departments. When you don't increase the rates for quite some time, it's hard to maintain those different funds. So in addition to the PER, we've also provided the proposed base rates, which reflect the potential increase that was included in the PER, as well as a utility breakdown highlighting what they currently are, and then what they could be 2023 with the sewer rate increases, and then the proposed water rate increases as well. Also included in the budget packet is a budget report for our water fund. If you see, it goes back to 2017, and if you look for the revenues have kind of remained pretty constant, and then you look down, the net revenues and appropriations, by year end, they are in the negative, meaning we're not generating enough revenues to support the appropriations throughout the years. And that's simply because we have not raised the rates since 2014. So in the PER, Whiteman and Associates, they are to support the projects that have been identified. we are looking at a 50% rate increase. So that means our base rate, which is currently $1.42, would be increased to $3.12. Happy to answer any question. Director Miller, if you would like to add anything to this as well. I will say, so the series of projects, we would probably go the similar route to our wastewater project. We will either utilize USDA funding. Just want to remind council, through that program, our rates were so low that we did not qualify through any grant dollars from that program. Your rates have to be at a certain level to qualify for grant funding. So we had to take out a full loan to support those projects. That's simply because our rates were too low. If we utilize that same program for the water rate improvements, I would say we're probably going to be in the same situation, but we don't qualify for any grant funding. There are other funding opportunities and resources that the state has recently announced. They talked about it at the MML Capital Conference, but they really stressed you have to have water rates that support some of these grant dollars or just grant programs. So either way, we got to raise the rates to fund our water department.
Yeah, so kind of piggybacking on that, the water department, everything we touch is getting more and more expensive. And you can kind of see that by the one page you have in there shows our expenses are going up every year. And it's especially bad after COVID. It seems like anything brass or metal is going way up. Cost of repairs, contractors is going way up. So with this proposed rate increase, it's going to cover our operating expenses now. I believe once that PDR is completed, totally done, and includes the lead and copper, we're going to see another rate increase. This is basically our first step to get us closer to where we should be. That's how deficient we are with our rates. So.
And just to remind council, so the state, they implemented the lead and copper rules, meaning we have to replace all lead and copper lines within our community by 2045. It is 2022 right now, but time seems to be flying by, and that will be here before we know it. And that burden falls on the city to cover the cost for those replacements. So the current rate that you have before you, that does not include the lead and copper replacement. This is just kind of step one to tackle the maintenance projects that have been identified by Wyman and Associates. Similar to when we raised the sewer rates, city administration, we are recommending that moving forward, we have small incremental increases each year. So we're not back into this situation where we have to do such a drastic increase on our residents. When attending the session with the Capital Conference, they talked about this obviously will be a burden to our residents. However, that should not be a reason to keep things the way that they are. If we continue to have the rates at the same rate that they are, we're not going to be able to fund the necessary improvements. I think we all like to have clean water to drink, to bathe, to supply our homes with, but we have to have funding available to do that. Our water and sewer funds, they are separate from our general fund. So just want to reiterate, they are enterprise funds, meaning the fees that we charge should be high enough to support the operations of those two departments. With that, I would just turn it over. With this, we're not looking to increase the rates this year. We obviously want to give our residents time to adjust their budgets, make sure that they can make adjustments to whatever they need to. We also will provide them with any information to resources if they need assistance with their utility billings. There's several programs out there that they can apply for to take advantage of through MDHHS, Community Action Agency. So moving forward, we will have information to provide to residents who may be struggling with that. If you know of anyone, please have them reach out to Lindsay Collins. She's good at providing that information to them. But we have to do something. When talking to my staff, I like to use an analogy. There's been a lot of cans, unfortunately, that we've just kicked down the road for so many years. And this time we got to pick those cans up. They're too heavy to keep delaying and kicking down the road any longer. We have to start doing something to maintain the services that we are expected to provide to our residents. So this would go into effect January 1, 2023. But we wanted just to kind of start having those conversations with you all, so then that you can engage with your constituents, and that we can start providing as much information to the residents so they can make the adjustments and prepare for these increases. With that, I will turn
Any
it over.
questions for City Manager Snyder or Director Miller? Yes, Councilman Reed?
I guess the question I'm asking, because it's been asked of me, is how many things do we have going on that's going to increase the tax base? Okay, you got the streets, how much is that? You got the water, how much is that? What else do we have that's going on that's going to increase the tax base?
Yep, that's a good question. We understand that we are asking a lot from our residents with the proposed increases. Right now, our main focus, I think the biggest concerns that we're hearing are our roads. So that's why we've been having the town halls to discuss a potential road millage. So that would be one, a new street millage to fund the road improvements, and then really just our water rates, which would not go into effect until, they both would go into effect 2023. So right now, those are the two main areas that's the only two main areas that we're looking to increase on our residents.
Are we going to have town halls about the water rates too?
We can. Yep, this is just kind of step one to provide the information to you all. And we can certainly schedule town halls to start providing this to residents as well.
Councilwoman Linden?
Thank you, Mayor Snyder. And thank you both for all the hard work and your staff. I know, like you said, with so many things being delayed, like you said, it's a very heavy burden, so I just want to acknowledge your work. With regard to the burden on residents, would it be possible to create like maybe just a one-pager with some of those resources, the points of contact, and what people could expect to be able to receive?
Yep.
Thank you.
I believe we may have some of those already. Like I said, contact Lindsay Collins. She is our utility billing specialist. She handles all of our water and sewer billing. And she may already have some flyers available that she can provide to residents that will direct them to. I know MDHHS, they have a program, Community Action, they have a program. And at the Exit Issues, I don't know if it was Commissioner Tompkins or Rep. Hatzma, they shared that there's still funding available through the state if you are struggling with any utilities, mortgages, that there's still funds available for our residents to take advantage of that to help lift that burden.
I realize that we're all trying to be very conscientious when it comes to not putting too much burden on our residents, and I totally get where you're coming from, Councilwoman Reed. People are coming to us asking what else, how much more. But we've also seen communities similar to ours within the state that have had to deal with major water issues only because attention hasn't been paid. So we don't want to find ourselves in that type of a situation where we have a water crisis that is now something that we're going to have to deal with. So I think being proactive and looking ahead and seeing what we can do now, even though it may seem like it's going to be a heavy burden, this is definitely something that we need to address before we get to that point.
And I would say it is a burden to our residents, but these are not problems that have occurred overnight. This has been 10 plus years in the making. And unfortunately, we're left with it. Now we're faced with this problem to have to deal with. Just with previous administrations, councils, whatever you want to say, we're the ones that have to deal with the problem with getting us to the level that we can support the maintenance and improvements to our infrastructure. When you have aging infrastructure, the increases, they tend to go up because you have to do so many improvements. So we do understand that this and recognize that this is going to be a burden for our residents, but we are required by the state and just to provide safe resources and services to our community. So that's what we're trying to do.
Do we still do tank flushing of our water? I was asked that the other day, and I know in my neighborhood I hadn't seen it done within the last few years. So
I would look to
You're talking about the fire hydrant
yeah,
flushing?
yeah.
Yep, we actually just started a new program with Albion, and we'll begin that this spring.
Okay, because someone was asking me why wasn't the water being flushed. And I told them I didn't know what I would ask.
Yep, we started, Assistant City Manager Ridge and I, we actually had our one-on-one meetings with all of the DPW staff this morning. And when we got to the water department, the water foreman, they mentioned the hydrant flushing, but then also the turning of valves. However, he mentioned they have to be careful when doing that because so many of our valves have not been replaced. You run into the issues of breaking them, and that causes more maintenance and repairs that just at even more cost to the city. So they're well aware that we need to do some serious improvements to our infrastructure system. And if we don't, we're going to just be faced with bigger problems down the road.
Mayor Pro Tem Jackson? Yes, I seen the information that you had down here on page 3, which I thought was good to really help us understand. We know that this has been put in our plates about, we ranked the 45th lowest, is what I had read. So my question is that as we continue with already for this year, raising the rate in 2023, right? So we're saying, so is that going to get us somewhere where we're able to get grants, hopefully? Or are we just able to pay off the loan, basically?
Unfortunately, no. These rates are if we do 100% loan for USDA. To be able to qualify through grant funding, your rates have to be so high that any additional increase would just be unbearable to residents. And I don't know the exact requirements through that program, so that's why they offer grant funding through that. But this would just get us to support 100% loan funding.
That's what I thought I read, but I thought it would be good for you to clarify that on this.
Yep. So out of, there were 52 municipalities surveyed throughout the state, and City of Albion, we ranked 45th, the lowest with our water and sewer rates. So we are very low compared to other municipalities, and obviously there's a high cost to pay when we don't increase our rates on an annual basis. As I stated before, we will begin the budget process a lot sooner this year. So this is why we're kind of starting these conversations now, so that when we do prepare the budget for 2023, we would like to incorporate the new increased rates into that budget, so you can kind of see what it would do for our revenues for our water department. But we're not looking for you all to make a decision tonight, just this is kind of to put this information before you, and then yes, we can start scheduling town halls to inform our residents on what this will be, provide them with information on resources if they need assistance with their utility billing, but this is just kind of step one to get us to where we need to be. And this, honestly, I wouldn't say it's where we need to be, it's just to kind of support the projects that have been identified in the PER report.
Thank you for agreeing to town halls because we have the information. We tend to understand why things are necessary. But the people out there that have to pay, they're the ones that really don't understand because they don't have all of this to go over and see. So therefore, they put the blame on us as council people as voting stuff in that's costing them more money when really it's something that needs to be done. So that's why I asked, because I've already been asked, so that we don't be saying, you council people did this and that and that. I don't take that very well.
Yep, nope, I think town halls are very important, and I think it's very important to provide the residents with all the same information that you all are provided with, so that they can see it for themselves, what we're doing. Like I said, these increases would solely go into our water fund. They are separate from our general fund. They have nothing to do with the other day-to-day operations of the city. This is solely to support the running of our water treatment plant and those maintenance projects.
Any other questions or comments? Do we, no, everybody's, do we have anybody on that would like to make a public comment? Okay, are we gonna save the city manager report and everything else for regular meeting? All right. I will go ahead and, well, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Support. City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Waller,
Yes.
Lanu,
Yes.
and Mayor Steiner.
Yes, meeting adjourned, 6:18 PM. And we'll be